No. Paul George does not deserve an apology from me or anybody. That was just to get you here. Thanks for being here. A report did come out yesterday, though, that changes the way we can look at the situation. And it's really one of two things. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Thanks for being here. Hit the like button for me one time. Let's just get right into it. Yesterday, Shams dropped this after a Paul George just onslaught of criticism for an entire 24 hours. Shams on Paul George playing through pain. I'm told it's to the point where he has gotten injections to play and compete over the last 4 or 5 games. That's something players do come playoff time, not necessarily the regular season. Now, first of all, are we talking about the pinky? Or are we talking about like a knee or something? I guess let's listen to what he said. And hopefully ESPN doesn't take this down.
Malika, the season started for Paul George with a hyperextension and a bone bruise, a really nasty-looking injury at the time. And it's really been an uphill battle for him since that point. He's had multiple different little nagging injuries that have come up.
They got music in the background. I think I'm screwed.
Recently, he's had tendon damage in his left pinky that he's been fighting.
Ouch.
He's been doing everything that he can to be on the court, though, and to try to be available. I'm told.
Well, this might get demonetized, so hit the like button for me, okay? Here's what he said.
Fighting.
Ouch.
He's been doing everything that he can to be on the court, though, and to try to be available. I'm told it's to the point where he has gotten injections to play and compete over the last 4 or 5 games. Now, that's something that players do.
Injections in what, Shams?
Come playoff time, not necessarily in the regular season. So clearly, we know the Paul George over the last several years. Last season, he was...
Oh, you little weasel. You little weasel, you Shams.
Healthy, played the majority of the season. And so credit to him for trying to tough it out in what's been a trying season for the 76ers. But clearly, there's something that's been amiss with him, with his body, and we're seeing that play out. The Sixers, there's going to be a point in time here, Malika, where second half of the season, definitely in the offseason, they're going to have some hard conversations about availability and potentially maybe even shutting a guy or two down.
Okay, my take on that is it's one of two things, all right? Either Paul George is playing injured and the criticism has not been warranted, or they're doing damage control. But number one, if Paul George is playing injured, which makes sense when you look at last year, he played 74 games for the Clippers, one of his most efficient seasons of his career, led the NBA in catch and shoot 3-point percentage at 45%, and averaged 22 points per game in the playoffs. Did he fall short with the Clippers after they lost Kawhi? Yes, of course. But 22 points per game in the playoffs, 45% catch and shoot, 3 points, 74 total games last year. He's definitely hurt. Nobody falls off a cliff that fast. Right? But the problem is, here's why I say I don't feel bad and nobody owes him an apology. If he was hurt and if he's playing hurt, the 76ers are mishandling the whole situation like they mishandle every injury ever. And they're being vague about it or just not telling anyone anything and saying like Paul George is out tonight with left knee injury management and then he comes back, right? Or Paul George is out with pinky sprain and then he comes back, right? The Sixers, if he is hurt, the 76ers not being clear about how hurt he is, his level of pain, and the fact that he's playing through it is the reason he's getting criticized. So if the criticism is unwarranted, it's because he's playing through injury and the fans don't know it because the organization isn't saying it. This organization is just the worst run organization I've ever seen in professional sports. It's unbelievable. Everybody's incompetent from the top down, bro. This is like a business being run by a couple of 8-year-olds, dude. It really is. And the people that are supposed to be running the day-to-day are like playing Roblox in the corner on a Nintendo Switch or something. It's so There's so much incompetence. It's unbelievable. They need to fire everybody in the whole company. Clean house. Fire everybody. Also, if Paul George is playing injured and performing at such a terrible level, why is he playing? Why is he playing? This organization is so stupid. They would rather force a player through injury because they're afraid to tell everyone he's out for an extended period of time, because there's the whole narrative on everybody's injured all the time and you paid these guys this much money and they missed the whole season. They're so afraid of that, they would rather have a guy play injured and put up absolutely god-awful numbers and lose to the worst teams in the league. There's scenario number one. Scenario number two is Paul George actually did fall off of a cliff this fast, and the signing looks so terrible moving forward. Possibly the worst contract in the NBA. Possibly, with the level of play right now, the worst contract in NBA history. And after his 2-point performance, they put out a call and they said, hey, do some damage control. Call Shams. Do some damage control. Fix it. I could see Josh Harris saying, fix it. Do some damage control. Call Shams. Fix it. Either of those two things are possible. But do the fans owe anybody an apology? Fuck no, dude. Don't ever apologize to this fan, to this team, or anybody on this team ever. There's my take on that. Now, I want to say one thing before we get into a couple of other things. There is a James Harden is cooking narrative out there right now that people have been harassing me about on the internet because the Sixers should have paid James Harden. I want to talk about that. Ben Simmons made his debut for the Clippers last night against the fucking Utah Jazz, who are actively tanking. And everybody's overrating the hell out of that. I want to talk to you about that for a second. But I want to throw this out there before I talk about that. Somebody hit me up yesterday and said, Magic Johnson is co-owner of the Washington Commanders with Josh Harris. And somebody said that Magic Johnson said, Stephen A. Smith said, sorry for my source listing here, but it was Stephen A. Smith. Somebody sent me a quote from Stephen A. Smith, basically saying, I know Magic is co-owner. He works closely with Josh Harris. Magic Johnson knows basketball. Daryl Morey and company should be on the hot seat. Or Daryl Morey and company should fear for their jobs with Magic Johnson being so close to Josh Harris. So we know Josh Harris doesn't watch basketball, doesn't know anything about it. We know he's not watching games. I just want to throw out there is a potential that somebody is paying attention. Somebody close to Josh Harris. And if Josh Harris, who, him and Magic Johnson got the Washington Commanders to the NFC Championship game this year in year one of Jaden Daniels' career, a complete turnaround of a franchise. If Josh Harris happens to ask Magic Johnson, hey, what's your opinion on my basketball team? Maybe there is a chance that they clean house. And I always want to give Daryl Morey his credit for drafting, finding Tyrese Maxey, finding Jared McCain. Even some of his minimal trades like the Quentin Grimes trade, I love it. Great trade, amazing trade. I don't know what the Mavs are doing. But his obsession with former All-Stars way past their prime is a problem. And it's how the Sixers got here today. Now, let's get into something else. Ben Simmons' Clippers debut. Ben Simmons, in his debut for the LA Clippers, off the bench, had 12.7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 4 for 5 from the field, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, which is wild, in 27 minutes. Now, I do want to say something before I talk about Ben Simmons as a role player. Ben Simmons is a role player. To go from a number 1 overall pick who looks like a 6'10 LeBron James, Magic Johnson hybrid to just a role player off the bench is still very sad. And if you watch his rookie highlights, it's unbelievable that he went from that to this. Does he, can he, on not a max contract, on a contract that suits a role player, can he be beneficial to a team in spurts off the bench? Yes, he can. So I don't think he's going to be out the league. But I will say this. Last night, 12 points against the Utah Jazz. Probably some solid defense, and I watched some of the highlights. I think y'all are freaking out right now, and you need to chill. Because I watched the Utah Jazz double team this guy on the perimeter several times, leaving guys streaking to the basket wide open, easy assist, leaving Norman Powell coming around for a handoff and a wide open 3, easy assist. The Jazz were double teaming Ben Simmons and leaving 3-point shooters wide open. The Jazz are trying to lose. There's a play in the fourth quarter where they doubled him at the 3-point line again and left James Harden wide open. So you're overreacting to this. The Utah Jazz are trying to lose. It was a nice debut for a guy who should have been way better than a role player in his career and is now a 6'11 role player. It still looks goofy when he's on the floor because he's bigger and stronger and faster than everyone out there, and he's just Dorian Finney-Smith. Actually, he can't even shoot. He's not even that. But he's going to become unplayable against teams who actually play defense and are actually trying to win. And that's my take right now. It was the Utah Jazz. They're not trying to win. You could see they're not trying to win by double teaming this guy on the perimeter. My prediction is, as we move forward and they play teams who are actually trying to win the game, they're going to start defending him one-on-one with their center from 20 feet away, and he's going to be completely unplayable on the offensive end, just like we saw in Brooklyn, just like we saw in Philly. There's my take on that. Now, I want to give James Harden credit for how he's playing right now. And people come at me every day and say, do you wish we paid James Harden? We should have paid James Harden? Are you taking back all the things you said about James Harden? The answer to that is no, I'm not. I think James Harden's a competitor. I like the way he's playing right now. I like his attitude towards the game. He said last night, I told Ty Lue, don't take me out of the game. This is a must-win for us. We needed to go into the break with some swagger, and he played 49 minutes last night. I love that, and maybe some of this has to do with playing with Joel Embiid. Maybe it's true that players don't like playing with Joel Embiid, and players like James Harden specifically don't like playing in a system where you have to keep giving Joel Embiid the ball. But here's my take on the thing, okay? If the Sixers would have given James Harden a max contract at the time that he was up for an extension, I don't think he would have been as motivated as he is right now. Because James Harden, when he played in Philly, still had incredible skill, of course, but he was not in the shape that he's in right now. He was not even close to the cardiovascular, the conditioning that he's in right now. He burned out. If he had a hot game in the first half, he burned out in the second half. If he had a really good game, he had a really terrible game right after it. He had 2 good games in the playoffs. In 4 games, he was the worst player on the floor. The worst player on the floor. He was a minus 89 in that playoff series against the Boston Celtics. What I'm saying to you is James Harden was still in this state of, I'm the man, I can do whatever I want, and I can party until 5 a.m. and play basketball the next day. It was night and day. You could see it you could see it from game to game when he was in Philly. When he was well rested, he was the Harden of old, and he would drop a 40-point triple-double. But you could see clearly the next couple of games, he would go to Miami, he would go to Vegas, whatever, and he would come back and he would look like a 57-year-old drunk guy out there on the court. Then he didn't get the max contract that he wanted. And he went to LA. He got traded to LA. He played the rest of the season with LA with motivation to show the NBA world that he can still play at an elite level. And he got himself in shape. And there's a quote this offseason of James Harden saying, I started to take my sleep schedule more seriously as I get into my mid-30s. I was saying it all season, bro. He's hungover. He was partying last night. That's why he looks like this. People kept coming at me. Why would you accuse him of this? There's videos of him and in the club at 5 a.m., bro. What are you talking about? Use your fucking brain here. What I was saying about James Harden in Philly was 100% correct. And he knew it. And he didn't get the money that he wanted because of that. And then he was motivated to change the way that he does things, or else he was going to be out of the league. And I want to give him credit for doing that, for getting in shape, for taking his sleep schedule seriously as he gets into his mid-30s. And now he's playing the way he's playing. He signed a 2-year, $70 million contract. And if he keeps playing like this and even gets in better shape, he might earn himself another NBA contract. So he's by changing the way that he was doing things, he's earned himself potentially 2 years now, but potentially 3 more. Potentially he earned himself 5 more years of NBA money, when what he looked like in that Celtics series, he might have been out the league soon. That's what happened. So no, I do not regret anything I said about James Harden when he was in Philly. I was actually 100% correct about everything I said about him. And no, I don't wish the Sixers would have paid James Harden, because I don't think he would have been as motivated to get in shape and get back to an elite level, because he would have had the guaranteed 5-year contract the same way Paul George is not motivated right now, and any other player that signs a 5-year max contract is unmotivated in this league led by overpaid bums. That's my take on that. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.